Welcome to Chapter 3, Lesson 6, the last lesson in this chapter, where we're going to learn how to create new selections or sections and to wrap text. So the first thing I need you to do is make sure you have your last name, first name, wraps, and sections document open. Pause if you need to while you open that, but once you have it open, I need you to open up your Pages panel, and you're going to double click on page 8. That should pop up in your image window, and I like to minimize my page panel while I'm working with this. And this document has been designed so that page 8 essentially represents a new section, a new country. The color theme changes and the city changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a new section in this document by adjusting the pages. So if we go to our Pages panel, and then we go to our Pages panel option button, which remember is always in that top right-hand corner, and we select Numbering and Sections option. So what we're going to do is we are going to change the numbering to 2 so that this new section starts at 2. You shouldn't have to change any of the other options. So if you go ahead and hit OK, you're going to get this alert, and go ahead and select OK again. And now we have our 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, and then it starts again for this new section at 2 and 3. So that is how we're going to change and add new sections into our document. So now we're going to learn how to wrap text around a frame. So if you double click on page 3 and the original page 3, so not the one we just created, but in that first spread, you're going to notice that the text kind of runs behind this little icon that they have here. So we're going to learn how to wrap the text around that icon. So the first thing you want to do is you want to click using your selection tool on the little blue circle or ellipse. Then we're going to come to our text wrap option in the panels. And the second function here is going to be wrap around a bounding box. Now our bounding box is this square that comes around our circle and not necessarily the shape itself. So if we click wrap around the bounding box, you're going to notice that it blocks out this entire square. For this, because it is a circle, we're going to select the click the wrap around an object shape button, which is this third button here, which is wrap around an object shape. Now you'll notice that this wraps around a circle and not the bounding box of squares. You can see some of those words go past that bounding box. Then I want you to change the only text box that's going to be available to a 0.125 and then hit enter. And what that does is it just makes a replication of that shape 0.125 inches away from the shape boundary. So now we're going to navigate to page 4. So going back to our Pages panel, double-clicking on page 4, where we have a little square in the middle of our text instead of a circle. So we're going to open up the text wrap again, and this time we are actually going to type the wrap around the bounding box button, because obviously our bounding box is square and so is our shape. Now we have 4 different functions that we can change. And I want to make sure that your make all settings the same button is turned off, which should look like this. If it's on, it's going to look like it's interlinked. When it's off, it looks like maybe a little explosion. And then I want you to make sure your top offset, so when you hover over your top offset, is 0. And then you're going to change your left and your right offset to 0.8. So hitting enter, and then coming down to this left-right offset, and hitting 0.8 and hitting enter. And that is all you are going to do for this lesson, where you're just learning how to make sure that the text goes around that shape and does not run underneath it. And go ahead and save your work. Once your work is saved, I want you to turn this into Google Classroom as well as your setup one that we created on lessons 1 through 4, and then you're going to move on to the book assignments. What the book assignments are going to be on page 3-62 and 3-63. You will also need to turn those into Google Classroom when you complete them.